Hey guys, and welcome to session 3 of Taking Spirit to Work, where we are discussing in this kind of a mini series all about how we can lead a spiritual life in our everyday human 9 to 5. So even if we have a muggle job, you can still have a spiritual path that works into both of them, right? So we want to get our human side and our spirit world working together. Okay, so today is all about the ripple of resonance. So in our last session, we looked at the contribution in a whole new way. It's less about what you do or your job description, and really more about the energy you are in any moment, because that is what Spirit tells me is most important. Because our job title is less interesting to your angels and guides, but who you are and the energy you're holding is the key. So, today, we're going to take that one step further and what I call the ripple of resonance. So it's like tossing a pebble into a pond and watching the waves or ripples go out. It touches everything that it passes over. So if there is a bug or a lily pad or anything in the pond, that ripple has an effect on it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, it's also the feeling, because when we get this at kind of a really knowing level, the feeling of contribution gets an upgrade. So we feel that we don't need to wait for somebody else to tell us we did a good job. We can see the effect of it when we're aware of it, right? Okay. So every thought, word, and action carries a vibration. Everything. Everything is energy. So if you're here, you probably have already heard this or experienced this or, know this. But yes, everything has an energy, not just physical objects, not just things that are moving, but thoughts, words, all of those are all have a vibration to them, a resonance to them, a frequency. So whether we realize it or not, we are always broadcasting. I've said before that our body is like a radio tower. So we are sending out information, that's the ripple effect, and we are gathering information. We are receiving information, and that's how your resonance goes out and somebody else picks up on it. And that's what we're talking about today. So at work, those ripples can shift a whole meeting, an interaction with a colleague. The resonance that you're sending out will have an impact. Even the way clients or customers feel in your presence. And it's how they experience your company as a whole. In the office or a company, it's the collective energy of everyone that impacts how others feel while interacting or working with your business. It is why, have you ever walked into a store and you just felt off? Like it might have been pretty, it might have been great lighting or beautiful things, but you just kind of felt off. And so you walked out without buying anything or without interacting. Or it could be the opposite. You go into some place, it's kind of not your style, but you just feel like you want to linger a little bit. You want to have a chat with the salesperson. You end up buying something. You know, that is because of the resonance. Excuse me. Perhaps you go to a workshop or you work with somebody. Perhaps you make an appointment with an intuitive or a healing practitioner, and you just don't know why, but they're not a match for you. That's resonance. So clearly, I saw this in my 30 years of working with children. And you could tell that intentionally, when I became the strongest energy in the room, I could influence their activity level. So if I'm really anxious or overwhelmed or stressed, the kids would reflect that. Their moods would be hyper or um, not engaged, not present. They would be kind of scattered and, all like that. And when I could get grounded and calm, it would bring the energy of the room down. It was orderly. They were happy. It was easy. So that is kind of like a really good example. And if you have kids of your own, you will notice that they will mirror your energy a lot of the time, or they will mirror the strongest energy in the room, the one that outputs the farthest and feels the most powerful. So, um, yes, I am reading notes. So, here's another example of resonance. So if you strike, and I love this. So if you have a room with pianos in it and you strike a tuning fork, and I've seen this example done live, if you strike a tuning fork, whatever note, I guess, or whatever vibration that is, the tuning fork is, the same strings on the pianos will start to vibrate, even though you don't touch them. It's that tuning fork is sending out a wave, just like a heat wave, kind of. We can see a heat wave, but you can't see an energy wave. So you're sending out that energy wave from the tuning fork, and that which matches it will start to vibrate. So we're a lot like pianos. We have a whole lot of options of emotions. So a piano has all those different notes. When one is struck, just like a tuning fork, when somebody comes into the room, we will match their vibration or others will match ours. So the trick is to being consciously aware of what you're sending out and holding an intention that perhaps you could be a very strong beacon, just like the tuning fork. You want to be the one that strikes first so that your resonance carries through, so that others pick up on your intentional vibration rather than just leaving it up to chance. Okay. So, uh, now here's a really good practice. And when I do workshops with kids, they like the visual. So this is where I got this one from. So here's an experiment that you could try this week at work. So as you enter work, a dinner party or a gathering of any kind, take a moment, get yourself centered, get grounded, take a breath, and hold the intention that no matter what happens, you will maintain this calm, grounded energy, and you are now radiating it outward. Then observe. How do people react around you? How are they interacting with you? Are they drawn to you? How far outward does your energy seem to extend to? Can you sense the shift as you walk through the room like a subtle wave moving with you? Just observe. You can hold another intention that you are, notice perhaps that you're really stressed. You had a long day, you're overtired, you're whatever. Notice, even if you don't shift out of that, notice what happens when you go into a group of people or a room holding that energy and just see what happens. When we can actually observe it for ourselves, it becomes easier to integrate. Our logical thinking brain likes that proof. It wants to see the results. So it's a good practice to hold, practice to have. So the science and the spiritual references. So science backs this up. There is tons of research. So one of the research is from HeartMath, and it shows how our heart has an electromagnetic field extends several feet out from our body, actually farther than the electromagnetic field than our brain does. Our heart actually has a much bigger field than our brain, which I think was really interesting because really your heart then becomes as it is, the center of your energy body, but it also becomes a thing that has the most power or the most influence or impact when we're talking about this resonating, this resonance. So it's less about what you're thinking and more about how you're feeling that has the biggest impact. And of course, we live in the feeling of our thoughts. We live in the feeling of our thinking. So That's why we set intentions. That's why we are clear on our thinking so that then we can embody that in our heart and extend our emotions outward, how we're feeling. So the other science, one of my favorites, is Dr. Emoto. He does the water experiments, you know. So he's demonstrated how words and intention visibly change structure of water. And since we are about 70% or more of water, this has a huge impact on us. So if you ever want to check out Dr. What's it, Masuru Emoto, Dr. Emoto, and gives us his pictures and his research gives us a striking picture of how energy impacts us physically. And it's it's fascinating stuff. So spiritually, if you're here, you probably already get it. We've always known this. Energy doesn't stop at the edge of our skin. It does not. It's always moving. Energy is always in motion. It cannot be contained. Even if it's condensed, it's still moving just in a smaller space. So it's blending and resonating with the people and the environments around us. So practical awareness. So here's the key question. Bottom line. What ripples are you sending out? What are you broadcasting? Are you broadcasting outward stress, frustration, fear? Or are you sending out a calm, grounded compassion, clarity, curiosity, in that resonance? So, what vibration are you holding? And we're going to talk a little bit about environments too, because we're going to get to that one. So, because our environments, our energy ripples outward and it is picked up by other people in the moment that you're present in the room, but it also lingers. So, if there is a location, a room, an office, or a building where people are often in a particular resonance. Perhaps it is a church. So, mostly in my experience, when I go into churches, they feel very calming. Even though there can be sadness or worry, there's still this kind of like calm, grounded energy there because that's how people tend to be there. Perhaps it is a school. When I walk into schools, they're like full of energy. I feel like firecrackers are going off. There's lots of energy. So perhaps it is so the how you are in your office most of the time, that energy is sticking around. So even if you're not present in the moment, if you have had a strong vibrational impact on your environment, that energy is going to linger. So same thing goes perhaps I've rented spaces before for workshops and so forth, and I've been to a few that I was like, what the heck did they do here last? Like either the energy was really confused and muddled, or the energy was very calming, or perhaps the energy was super hyper, and we had to kind of like reset the vibration of the room so that we could do our event in our energy rather than having the lingering energy from before take over. Okay. So this is where kind of the fun things come in. So today we're going to do a couple of practices playing with resonance. So here are some of my favorite tools of all time. My number one favorite tool is bubbles. Yes, bubbles. Just like the soap bubbles you blew when you were a kid, or the giant bubble like Glinda the Good Witch comes in. Either one, both will work. So, what you want to do is imagine the bubble in your mind's eye just in front of you. So, let's do one for your office or your workspace, even if it's a collective workspace, that's fine. Or it could be like me, that working from home, whatever you want. We're going to do this one for the office. So you want to just imagine this big bubble like Glinda the Good Witch shows up in. Beautiful bubble, and you're going to fill it with everything that you want, all the energy that you want for that space. So it's kind of like we're going to reset the energy of the space with the bubble. So perhaps we want it to be helpful or calm. Perhaps we want to have energy, adventure, whatever you want for your workspace. Put that energy into the bubble. Fill it up. Feel like it's pouring from a water can or a spout or whatever works for you. Just imagine that it's all filling up inside the bubble. Then we're going to add some glitter just because we can. Perhaps a taco or a cinnamon bun. And we're just going to imagine it going out to our workplace and pop. And the bubble releases all of that energy. Now, you can do this without being in the space, which is awesome because you could do it in the morning before you even get out of bed. You are already sending your office whatever energy it is that you want for the day. Perhaps there's a lot of stuff to get done and you want some clarity and you want alacrity. You want things to be moving smoothly and things to synchronicity be taking over. You would fill your bubble with that. Perhaps there's a difficult meeting coming up and you want to have calm and compassion. You can send that ahead of time. So you can also send bubbles to people, not just to places. And it works the same way. Perhaps you have to have a conversation with someone. Maybe you're going for a job interview and you can send out bubbles and just send them. You don't have to be able to visualize the person. You can just ask your team, please send this bubble off to whoever's going to interview me today. I want them to feel calm. I want them to feel appreciated. I want me to come with the energy of collaboration or community, whatever it is that you require. And I always throw in a little bit the highest good for everyone involved. If the interview it doesn't pan out for a job offer, then you will know that it wasn't in the highest good for everybody. And everything turned out exactly like it should. So bubbles are by far my favorite tool. They're fun, they're effective, and I have clients who come back all the time telling me all their miracle stories about bubbles. Okay, so let's see. Next one. Clearing the room. Okay, this is one that I actually had a client who worked, she was a client a few years ago, and she worked in a corporate environment, like she worked with Fortune 500 CEOs. She loved her job and she kept having dreams and this nudge and this pull that she should be a healer. She was very conflicted when she showed up because she was like, I don't want to give up my job. I love my shoes and my wardrobe and my condo and everything that comes along with she loved her job and she was fantastic at it. So when I calmed her down, I said, you don't have to leave your job in order to be a healer because healers, as Spirit tells me all the time, are needed everywhere. We will just shift your perspective so you can be a healer at your corporate job. So this is one of the tools that she came back about a month later and told me that she used on a regular basis, and it worked miracles for her business, for her clients. It was amazing. So she would clear the room. So before a meeting, and it was pre-COVID, so board meetings in person, and she would have very high, very successful, highly motivated, mostly men, come to the meetings. And she said that there was always a lot of conflict. There was kind of like stubborn was a word she used a lot. And there wasn't a lot of collaboration, but there was a ton of competition. So what she decided to do, one of the steps she took is she was clearing the room. She would go into the board meeting room ahead of time, about a half an hour or 20 minutes before the meeting was set to begin, and she would clear the room energetically. So for her, one of her favorites was she would just close her eyes, she'd stand in the room, and she would just imagine an angel or two. She used Michael and Metatron, I think, whatever angels you want, to come in and just like whoosh their wings and take out all the stale energy. Anything that was from before, like the corners and the like every piece of energy that was left over and stale or had the energy of resistance or fear or anything like that would be swooped out of the room, and she would just imagine this big bubble of light coming to the center of the room and just shining out. So every corner was lit up with this beautiful white light, this energy of collaboration, of teamwork, of sharing and vulnerability. That's what she brought into the middle of the room. And when she did that, she would set the intention. This is the energy I want these people to walk into. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not tied to a particular outcome, but I want the best for all. When she called me and told me that people were not missing her meetings, people would show up early, that all of a sudden they were sharing. She noticed that more companies that she was working with were collaborating together. She said it completely shifted the energy of the meetings and it increased her business huge. People were like, nobody missed a meeting. Everybody was getting more stuff done. Everything was just synchronicity was flowing. It was amazing. So just that tiny shift in energy, that ripple of resonance really made a huge impact. So you can do the exact same thing for your office. You can, if you're working in a collective office, you can just clear the whole office. It doesn't have to be empty for you to do it. You can just take a moment, close your eyes, get the angels in, and away you go. And my daughter, when she was younger, she used to say that for her room, she would imagine little cupids with like dustbusters going around and cleaning, taking all the old energy, like cobwebs out of the corners and cleaning the whole space. Same thing works. So just imagine how you want to clear the room. Now, you can also use prayer. I know I have clients who use a prayer before they go in, which is also very much like setting an intention. And it's not about changing your title. It's not about changing the job description. It's simply about bringing more of you to work. So bringing your belief system, your compassion, your clarity, your spirit, it's about bringing that to work. Okay, one last tool or exercise to try out for this week. So the next one is called Blessing Your Desk. And yes, it sounds a little corny, but I love it. Okay, so we're not the only energy that gets rippled out. Objects hold energy. And we know this because sometimes you pick something up and you're like, oh, I don't know what was this? Sometimes if I'm in an antique store, it gets very overwhelming because there's tons of history, tons of energy that are in these objects. So your desk or your workspace has that feeling. And remember, we talked about earlier how the energy can hang out. Same thing. So you can bless your desk. You can clear the energy of your desk or your workspace just the same as you do as a boardroom or a meeting room or your office in general. Use the same thing, little cupids with dustbusters or an angel or whatever you like. You don't have to sage in order to clean a space. You do not. I have never saged in my life. No, I don't think I have. But I clean spaces all the time. So you don't have to actually do a physical thing to clean energy out of a space. You can do it with the intention and calling in angels to do it to help you with it. So you want your workspace to have a resonance of its own. And you want to be in charge of that resonance, that energy, that frequency. So, first of all, mine is not a very good example today, but a tidy desk can be very calming. It can allow workflow. It has leaves space for creative ideas and solutions. When a desk is very untidy or cluttered, that's how we feel. And I did have felt like that for most of the day. And sometimes we avoid it. I know that when my desk is too messy, I like don't like to sit at it because it just feels overwhelming. So rather than just avoiding it, spend 5 minutes and tidy up your desk. Now, then you can, after that, then add things that support and uplift you. So perhaps it's, I love flowers. I love having fresh flowers on my desk. I have a really funky vase. I love it. So things that it could be a crystal. I do have a couple of crystals on my desk as well. And oh yes, and on my desk I have this little crystal angel that I got for Christmas, I think from my mom a few years back. And she just sits on my desk. I love how she feels. So you can put small things on your desk that help you have that feeling, touchstones, there we go, that emanate an energy that feels wonderful to you. So it can be uh, do something personal. Depends on how loud it is or obvious or how subtle it is, depending on your work environment and the regulations and things around your office or whatever. For me, I love to have flowers. I really like to have sunshine and definitely an outside view. That is I'm lucky. I work from home and have for years. And that's always just, I always place my desk in a position where I'm like looking out the window at the same time. Okay, so oh, let's just take a moment and we're going to pause, breathe, put your hand on your heart. Let's see if we can see mine. There we go. Put your hand on your heart. And remember that you get to choose. You are the chooser of your vibration, always. And there will be moments when you forget and you get swept up in somebody else's bigger energy. That's okay. Give yourself a break, have some grace. And then remember, shake it off, get back to your heart again, take a breath, and imagine you are sending out those waves of whatever you intend. You get to choose. What experience do you want others to have in your presence? What experience? How do you want others to feel? What energy do you want them to pick up on as they're interacting with you, whether it's colleagues or clients or your boss? Sometimes the shift is small, as softening your shoulders, recalling a moment of gratitude. Sometimes that's all it takes. Those small adjustments change the field around you, which in turn shifts how others feel and changes the impact you're having anywhere you are, anywhere. So don't forget to ask your team, your spirit team, for support. We're not required to do this alone. That's not part of it. Your angels, your guides, and your higher self are always available to help you set intentions, stay grounded, and remain connected. They're always there, always. And when you feel a little lost, you can ask them to help guide you. Hey guys, I am feeling overwhelmed. I need some grounding. Can you please ground me? You can ask them for things like that. Absolutely. You don't have to do it alone. So when we talked in session 1 about listening, you saw how your internal filters blah, 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 shape your experiences. And in session 2, we shifted from doing to being. And now with the ripple of resonance, we're bringing those two things together. And we're being available to notice how it works. This is a practical course. This is not all woo woo. It is bringing the magic of woo woo into your practical everyday life. Now, as I've said before, you can take this information and slot it into relationships, family dynamics, anywhere you want in your life. It doesn't have to be work. It is transferable. Okay. The frequency we listen from and the way you see yourself as contribution both flow outward. And that outward flow is what others actually feel. So play with it, have fun. Spirit always tells me this should be fun. It's always fun. So as you go back into your workday, try it. Notice your ripples. Ask yourself on your way to work, what energy am I sending out today? What resonance am I sending out for others to pick up on? Experiment with resetting it and see how others respond. You might be surprised at how quickly a room shifts when you shift yourself. Because we can't, now, doing it because you want others to change isn't going to work as well, but doing it so that you hold an intention, that you are powerful, that you are taking responsibility for what you're adding to any environment, that's worth doing. Doing it because you want somebody else to act differently, it doesn't always work like that, but you will be surprised how much it shifts everybody else too. Okay, so that's it for today's session. We're going to be number 4 is coming out in just a couple of days, and I look forward to it. Please, if you want to support more of these videos and want to support my channel, then share with friends. Go back and watch video 1 and 2 for sure, and leave comments below with any insights that you had. And we will see you in the next video. Have a fabulous day, guys. Mwah.